1987 සිට නව්‍යකරණයෙන් ශ්‍රී ලාංකේය බැංකු ක්ෂේත්‍රයේ පෙරලියක් සිදු කළ අභිමානවත් 30 වසරක සැමරුම සම්පත් බැංකුව හෙට දින එළිය කරයි.
In your headlines tonight, PM affirms Sri Lanka ports will not be used for external military purposes.
First at 9. This is Derana 24/7.
President appoints new SLFP organisers. Sambandhan highlights the need of the government to pitch in with the issues of the Tamil population. Benchmark Colombo Equity Index pushes over 6,000 points after 4 months. G7 fails to agree sanctions on Russia. Hello there, very good evening to you. Thank you for joining us here at Derana 24/7 News. I'm Dasuman Prematunga. Let's take a look at the local news first. The Treasury has informed Cabinet that the excise revenue to the government via liquor and cigarette sales has decreased for the first time. President Maithripala Sirisena said that although this erodes government revenue, the reduction in income will be an investment for the future generation. Speaking during an event in Kandy, President Sirisena stated that the government's program to save future generations from the drug menace has proven results.
President Maithripala Sirisena visited the new building complex of Teldeniya District Base Hospital with the public at a ceremony held today.
For the first time in Sri Lankan history, the Treasury informed the Cabinet that tax revenue gained from alcohol and cigarettes has decreased. We have made very good progress. We have made much progress in the health sector. In order to develop the country's health sector, the government can provide necessary resources, but it is the responsibility of doctors, nurses and other health officials to maintain a healthy population in the country. Therefore, we have to move forward by developing the health sector of the nation.
Now, other nations will not be allowed to use Sri Lanka's ports for military purposes as their security solely lies with the Sri Lanka Navy. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe made the affirmation today in Japan whilst addressing the Sri Lanka Business Seminar organised by the Japan External Trade Organisation.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe and an 11-member delegation left for Japan on a 7-day official tour yesterday. They were treated to a special banquet by the Sri Lanka-Japan Friendship Association. The Sri Lankan delegation was assured their utmost cooperation for the development process of the country. Prime Minister also met the chairman of the Japan International Cooperation Agency. Later, the Prime Minister participated in the Sri Lanka Business Seminar organised by Japan External Trade Organisation. It was conducted with the participation of over 300 Japanese entrepreneurs. Delivering the keynote speech on Sri Lankan understanding of global situation and importance of Japan, Prime Minister Wickremesinghe also highlighted the Indian and Pacific Oceans as the foundation of world trade.
Your Parliamentary Vice Minister for Foreign Affairs, Shunsuke Takai, rightly said, Indo-Pacific is said to become the ocean of world trade. And in that Indo-Pacific region, the countries are becoming more assertive and having a bigger say in determining the regional economic architecture. Of all these countries, Japan is the most developed. The foundation of prosperity requires not merely the intervention by the Japanese government in development assistance. It also requires the Japanese private sector because you are investing in an emerging market. If you just take South Asia and the Bay of Bengal countries alone, that's a fairly big market, and we feel that there will be at least 250 million more people in the next 20-30 years there.
Addressing the gathering, Minister of Development Strategies and International Trade, Malik Samaravikrama, said an investor-friendly environment is being created in the country. He added measures are being taken to put regulations in place in a bid to enable all the functions through one entity.
Our economy in Sri Lanka has witnessed a steady revival in growth during the past few months, with the country venturing into new avenues of product and service monetization. Sri Lanka is on the cusp of a transformative leap forward. We have no doubt that our strong bilateral relations have a bright future.
In the meantime, Minister of Special Assignment Dr. Sarath Amunagama educated the Japanese entrepreneurs on benefits of investing in Sri Lanka.
Why invest in Sri Lanka? Sri Lanka is one of the world's best locations.
The Janatha Vimukti Peramuna charges the government is attempting to hand over the occupancy of the Trincomalee oil storage facility to the Indian Oil Corporation. The leader of the JVP, Anrukumar Disanayaka, made these remarks addressing a media briefing held at the party headquarters today.
Last year, Minister of Petroleum Resources Development Chandima Veerakkodi tabled a cabinet paper requesting the assignment of the 16 tanks, the ownership of the land and the legal rights to his ministry. The schedule notes the cabinet paper was approved. Later, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe had tabled another cabinet paper nullifying the earlier orders. We can reduce the cost of distribution by 618 million rupees per annum if we store oil at the Trincomalee oil tank farm. Distribution and storage of fuel necessary for the province alone will generate a profit of 1,000 million rupees per annum. The government is attempting to give the profit to the IOC without giving the benefits to the public.
Leader of the opposition R. Sambandhan says the expected changes from the current government have not been realized. He made these remarks at an event held in Vavuniya yesterday.
The event to vest 150 houses with dwellers of the Puntotam camp and other displaced population from the northeast was held under the patronage of the leader of the opposition, R. Sambandhan, in Nedunkeni, Sinnadamban area yesterday.
The Tamil population is disappointed as the current government has not yet given proper solutions to their problems. It is unfortunate that after 2 years, the government has still failed to provide a proper solution for the matter of missing persons. Instead of removing military camps from lands belonging to civilians, the government has deployed security forces to cultivate in those lands. The government should take immediate action to release civilian lands in northern and eastern provinces, which are currently occupied by military personnel. If the government does not provide immediate solutions for pending issues of the Tamil population, the situation will worsen.
The Cabinet Subcommittee inquiring into the harassment of journalists has extended the submission deadline to May 1st, pertaining to applications regarding journalists who were affected, murdered or harassed. It was revealed at a media briefing held in Colombo today that the subcommittee will especially focus on the time period between 2005 and 2015.
A media briefing was convened after an observational tour of the Lake House premises in which Minister of Mass Media, Gayantha Karunatilaka and other officials from the Department of Information participated.
The Cabinet Subcommittee on Inquiring into the Harassments of Journalists has decided to extend the date for submissions until May 1st. So there had been an inquiry committee that invited proposals from the public. And the report was submitted to the Cabinet a couple of weeks ago. The Cabinet Subcommittee, comprising 3 ministers, Honourable Mangala Samaravira, Honourable Vijayadasa Rajapaksa and Honourable Gayantha Karunatilaka, has been appointed as a Cabinet Subcommittee to look into this matter. And the subcommittee met last week and decided to make public announcement in a more visible manner to invite applications from public, media workers, journalists, and also organizations on those who have been affected, specifically murdered, attacked or harassed by the time frame of 2005 to 2015. And thereafter, the subcommittee will take about a month to assess and evaluate these submissions and make a final report to the Cabinet.
A special transport plan is in operation for the convenience of the public visiting their hometowns, especially outstations, for the Aurudhu season. Additional buses and special trains are deployed for the convenience of the public.
Sri Lanka Transport Board revealed that 4,600 additional buses are deployed for the new year, from which 1,200 will be assigned for outstation destinations. Chairman of SLTB Ramal Sirivardhana told Derana that the special plan will be executed until the 25th of this month.
From 6th to 15th, we are operating additional more than 2,900 buses from Colombo to various destinations island-wide on passenger request. And from 16th to 25th, we are operating more than 1,700 buses from various outstation destinations to Colombo City. But we expect more crowds this evening and tonight and tomorrow, and we are geared to cater to the demand.
In the meantime, a special train service is also in operation. 24 new trains are added to the service and special trains will be deployed to Jaffna on the 12th. Similarly, special trains will operate to Mahava, Gaul and Matara on April 17th. Sri Lanka Railway Service has taken measures to operate 8 train journeys to Kalutara South from Petta on the 14th.
The Government Medical Officers Association charges that the statement issued by the Ministry of Higher Education last Friday reveals that SITEM to be of inferior standard. Convening a media briefing, they said it is impossible to resolve the SITEM issue by changing the President of the Medical Council.
If these students graduating SITEM are qualified, why does the Ministry of Higher Education and Highways recommend additional clinical training? If the government is taking over Neville Fernanda Hospital, it means that they are incapable of maintaining it as an up-to-date teaching hospital. They are going to use a 4th-tier hospital of ours as the teaching hospital, which are Homagama and Avisawala hospitals. We question whether the Neville Fernanda Hospital is inferior in standard to those. The statement by the Ministry of Higher Education makes evident their acceptance of these facts. These facts were concealed from court on the 31st of January. We have decided to inform the President about the biased nature of the Attorney General.
Meanwhile, at another function, Minister of Health, Nutrition and Indigenous Medicine, Dr. Rajith Senaratne also expressed his views regarding the SITEM issue.
Recently, the President of the Government Medical Officers Association has contacted the Director General of Health over a certain issue. The Director General, who is also a doctor, had turned down Dr. Padenia's request citing regulations. In response, the Director General was threatened, saying that they would come into power in 3 months. We question as to who is coming into power. They are talking about the former president. These are political agendas. There is a court order and I am honouring the court order.
We take a short break now. We'll be back with more news. Welcome back. Now, a special representative group from the European Union arrived in Sri Lanka to assess the country's eligibility for the reinstatement of the EU Generalised Scheme of Preferences Plus facility. Now, the representatives will be focusing on factors such as the economic stability as well as human and labour rights in the country. The report of the European Commission's technical team, which examined Sri Lanka's application for the restoration of GSP Plus duty concessions, has concluded that the island nation now meets the eligibility criteria of the EU GSP regulations. Subsequent to the submission of the report, the European Commission recommended to the European Union Parliament that GSP Plus be granted to Sri Lanka. A special discussion regarding the granting of GSP Plus will be held on April 19th in Brussels, Belgium. A Supreme Court Judge K. Sisira Diabru was sworn in as the acting Chief Justice before President Maithripala Sirisena at the President's official residence today. Meanwhile, Appeal Court Judge A.H.M. Nawaz was sworn in as the acting Appeal Court President. In international markets, gold and treasuries strengthened with the Japanese yen on lingering investor caution about global security risks and the path of U.S. interest rates. Now, haven assets in the U.S. advanced as the White House press secretary issued a warning to Syria and tensions over North Korea rumbled on, and Federal Reserve Chair Janet Yellen confirmed the central bank's interest rate plans are aimed at sustaining full employment and near 2% inflation. Asian stocks have closed mixed with more than 0.5% gains in Shanghai and Mumbai, while Hong Kong and Japan lost 0.75 and 0.25 percentage point respectively. Gold rose for a third day, adding 0.2% to $1,257 per troy ounce, while crude ended this year's best run in yesterday's trading, dropping after 5 days of gains to $52.98 per barrel. And here's a look at how the Sri Lankan rupee traded against other currencies during the day.
Top 5 gainers of the day were SNB Leasing, Non-Voting, Amana Takaful, Hunnas Falls, Singh Industries, Serendip Engineering. Today's foreign purchases were 165.63 million rupees and foreign sales were 116.58 million rupees. There was one crossing today and the crossing's turnover was 93.12 million rupees.
Taking a look at your sports news now, it's cricket. Kings 11 Punjab romped to victory, defeating the Royal Challengers Bangalore by 8 wickets in their 2017 Indian Premier League encounter last night at Indore. Now, Hashim Amla and Glenn Maxwell were unstoppable as they led the Kings 11 to victory at the Holkar Stadium.
Batting first, Royal Challengers, who dropped Chris Gayle, lost quick wickets in the beginning. Returning from injury, AB de Villiers' 46 ball 89 was the only significant contribution to RCB's innings of 148 for 4.
Different direction, and the 50 comes up for AB de Villiers. What a player! Oh dear! The biggest, perhaps, yes!
Chasing a target of 149, Punjab started off well with Hashim Amla cruising to a half century of 38 balls.
Another boundary, 50 up for him. Very good half century.
Coming in at number 4, Glenn Maxwell's hard hitting cleared the boundary on several occasions. RCB could not contain the Big Show, who led the Kings 11 Punjab to victory with his quick fire 43.
And in football news, Arsenal's hopes of qualifying for the next season's Champions League were dealt a further blow last night as the Gunners suffered a 3-0 loss to Crystal Palace. The defeat was their 4th straightaway loss and leaves Arsenal 7 points adrift of 4th place with 8 games to play.
Exploiting Arsenal's failure to deal with long balls, Palace opened the scoring with their first shot on target, and Ross Townsend turning home across from fellow winger Wilfried Zaha. Zaha then picked out Johan Cabaye for a brilliant second. Luka Milivojevic then added a third from the penalty spot. Arsenal, however, are in danger of missing out on a Champions League spot for the first time in the 21-year reign of manager Arsene Wenger.
The USA, Canada and Mexico have announced their intention to table a unified bid to host the 2026 FIFA World Cup. If successful, this would represent the first time 3 countries have shared hosting duties of a World Cup. With 2026 also marking the expansion of the World Cup to 48 teams from the current 32, the co-hosts' current plan is for the USA to host 60 of the matches and for Canada and Mexico to host 10 each. The winning bid will be selected in 2020 and European and Asian countries will be exempted under FIFA's rotation policy. And we take a short break now. We'll be back with more news. And before we go into international news, we'll take a look at one of our headline-making stories tonight. 4 electorate organisers and 3 district organisers in the Kurunegala district were presented appointment letters by President Maithripala Sirisena today. The appointment letters were handed over at the President's official residence in Colombo. Meanwhile, General Secretary of the UPFA, Mahinda Amaravira, says that Indika Bandaranaike will be the new organiser of the Nikavaratia electorate, replacing Johnston Fernando.
The General Secretary of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, Duminda Dissanayake, also joined the occasion. The Chief Minister of the Northwestern Province, Dharmasiri Dasanayake, is appointed as the new organiser of the Bingiri electorate. Minister of Sports, Dayasiri Jayasekara, has been put in charge of the Panduasnugara electorate. Provincial Minister of the Northwestern Province, Lakshman Venduvara, is the new organiser of the Kurunegala electorate. 3 district organisers were also appointed for the Kurunegala district, with Gunadasa Dehigama, Anuradha Sampath Hewage and M.S.M. Fahim receiving appointment letters. The SLFP organising committee of the Colombo district convened following the appointment ceremony. General Secretary of the UPFA, Mahinda Amaravira, later briefed the media on the decisions taken during the discussions.
New appointments were added to the existing ones. We were able to resolve the Kurunegala issue. Johnston Fernando was replaced with Indika Bandaranaike as the organiser of Nikavaratia. We need organisers who are capable of strengthening the SLFP, and weak organisers will be removed across the board. Only then will the President hand over their appointment letters.
Taking a look at your international news now, the group of 7 major global powers have failed to reach an accord over threatening new sanctions against Russia and Syria. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin today said that Russia had information suggesting the existence of plans to make further chemical attacks in Syria.
The group of nations agreed that there was no solution to the Syria crisis with President Bashar al-Assad in power. Yesterday, British Premier Theresa May and US President Donald Trump agreed that there is a window of opportunity to persuade Russia to distance itself from Assad. US Secretary of State Rex Tillerson has arrived in Russia and is scheduled to meet Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov, carrying a unified message from the summit.
So what we're trying to do is to give Rex Tillerson the clearest possible mandate from us as the West, the UK, all our allies here, to say to the Russians, this is your choice. Stick with that guy, stick with that tyrant, or work with us to find a better solution.
Now, after an appearance in court today, the chief suspect in Friday's truck attack in Stockholm has admitted to committing a terrorist crime. 39-year-old Uzbek national Rakhmat Akilov was arrested hours after the incident, and police believe him to have been the driver of the vehicle which was driven into a department store, killing 4 people. Security services said that Akilov had expressed sympathies with extremist organizations and had already been wanted by the police for failing to comply with a deportation order. And 9 of the 11 crew remain as hostages after an Indian cargo dhow hijacked by Somali pirates was rescued by Somali security forces yesterday. Reuters reports that Somali state security were able to attack the ship and secure it, and rescued 2 of the crew as the pirates fled ashore. Now, pirates told Reuters that they would keep the remaining 9 members of the Indian crew to use as a bargaining chip to secure the release of 117 pirates jailed in India. After almost 5 years without a reported incident, the hijacking of the Al Kawthar vessel is the second in a recent string of 3 attacks by Somali pirates following the hijack of Sri Lankan crude Aris 13. Residents of the Somali coastline say that piracy has resumed after local authorities issued permits for foreign fishing vessels to fish in Somali waters while the country deals with a famine. And over in France, a fire has destroyed a camp housing 1,500 migrants near Dunkirk in northern France late last night. Officials report that the fire broke out during a fight between Afghans and Kurds in the camp that left several injured.
At least 10 migrants were injured as scuffles between the two groups prompted the arrival of riot police and more clashes involving up to 150 people. The fire then broke out later in the evening, tearing through the wooden huts housing mostly Kurdish migrants. Officials report that more than half of the Grand Sinthe camp had burned down and that over 165 people had already been taken to emergency shelters nearby.
Venezuelan opposition supporters clashed with police yesterday at street protests over a grinding economic crisis and an erosion of democracy under leftist President Nicolas Maduro. It is the first sustained wave of anti-government demonstration in 3 years.
Demonstrations over shortages of basic goods and soaring inflation had ebbed amid protester fatigue until a Supreme Court decision late last month to assume the functions of the opposition-led Congress reignited protests. The court quickly overturned the most controversial part of its decision, but the move triggered widespread condemnation. There were protests in several cities yesterday, including a march by thousands in Caracas.
We take a break now. Your weather forecast is coming up. Welcome back and on to your weather forecast for tomorrow. Now, showery conditions are expected to intensify during the next few days, particularly on the 13th and 14th of April. Showers or thunder showers will occur in most provinces of the island during afternoon hours. Rain can be expected in the western and southern coastal areas during the mornings as well. Fairly heavy rainfall of above 75 millimeters is expected in some places, particularly in the western, northwestern, Sabragamu, central, Uva and southern provinces. And let's now take a look at your city-by-city weather forecast for tomorrow. And that's it on the main news tonight. For the very latest in local, international, business, entertainment and sports news, do log on to www.otherderana.lk, like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter at Otherderana. And before we go, we'd like to leave you with a peek into the art of traditional Kondakyaum preparation in lieu of the Sinhala and Tamil New Year. Hope you enjoy. Good night.
Information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Otherderana 24/7.